a licensed therapist and the author of Reflections of a Hopemonger. Hope is our theme, and helping you align yourself to your life's purpose is our goal. After listening, you will be educated, inspired, and elevated to unlock your own greatness. So please subscribe to this podcast, share it, and give us a good rating. Now, let's get started. Well, hello, and welcome to Hopemongers. Today, I feel incredibly privileged to be joined by Maame Afon Yelbert-Sai. Yes. Maame Afon is an internationally recognized thought leader and a passionate advocate for women and girls. She's an activist, a coach, a mentor, a facilitator, as well as a wife and mother. And Maame Afon has translated her experience and passion for transformative coaching, mentoring, women's rights, and leadership into her career. And she also serves on the boards of several organizations, including the African Women's Development Fund USA, where she's the board chair, Global Fund for Women, We Care Solar, again, where she's the board chair, Coco 360, where she's the board secretary, and several others. Maame Afon is also a recording artist, and she says she uses the power of music to promote philanthropy and social justice. She holds a BA in French and Spanish and an MA in human rights, gender, and international development. Maame has been recognized as one of the 18 African feminists to know by For Harriet, and that was in 2015. And she was also featured in Afro Elle magazine in the June 2015 edition. And there's a whole lot more to her bio. I just want to add as well that Maame is also an author. She contributed her story to We Will Lead Africa, Volume 2, Women, African Everyday Leadership Stories, and that's available on Amazon. And she is the founder and the lead trainer facilitator of MILT, which stands for Management for Impact Leadership and Transformation. And so, Maame Afon, welcome to Hopemongers.
Thank you for having me on Hopemongers. It's quite a name, to have that name. Hopemongers means you feed on it, you thrive on it. Everything about hope becomes who you are, and you exude hope wherever you go. So I love the name, Hopemongers.
Thank you. We are certainly all things hope. And we've yet to meet in person, but I have always enjoyed following you on social media. I love just your vibe, your Afrocentric style. I admire what you stand for, the work you do, just your giftings. And so I'm so honored to have you here. So here at Hopemongers, we like to go beyond the resume. So I figured we'd start out. Tell me a little bit about you beyond the resume. Who is Maame Afon?
Well, it's interesting that you have that perspective of going beyond the resume. And I think oftentimes as leaders, or just as human beings, we are like an iceberg, right? And an iceberg has what you see on top and what is also below.
Absolutely.
And often we only look at what is on top. And so our titles, our positions, our accomplishments, but all of the things that make us what people see are often hidden and rooted, in a way that cannot be seen. And so for me, when people ask me who I am or who I am being in this world, I often use a simple 2 words, that I am a whole woman. And that means that I bring all of who I am to every space. And what does bringing all of who I am mean?
Yes.
It means I bring who I am as a person of faith, as a woman of faith, right? My faith, who I am as a believer, as a daughter, as a follower of Christ is very, very important to me. I am unapologetic about who I am as a woman of faith. It is in my credo. It is in my ethos. It is what allows me to show up in the fullness of who I am created to be. And so, first and foremost, I want you to know that I am a lover of Christ, and that propels me.
Wonderful.
I am also somebody, I have a very, very, very witty sense of humor. I'm very funny, like really funny. If you get to know me, you will notice that I'm crazy in a good way.
My type of woman.
In a good way. And I tell people that I am proudly African. Anytime you see me, you would see something about me that represent my Africanness. I do not shy away from that. And I think for me, having grown up in Ghana, sometimes we take for granted when we are familiar with things, right? So I grew up in Ghana, and every day I woke up, I didn't look anything different. So sometimes you don't even celebrate the essence of your Africanness. But then in 1999, I moved to the US for college. And once I moved to the US, I started appreciating my Africanness differently. I became more vocal about who I am as an African and as an African woman. And I don't need to tell people, but I just need to, when I show up, I want people to know that I am very proud to be in this skin, to be in this body. Yes. And you might often see things about me that often represents who I am. It might be an earring I'm wearing, it might be a bracelet I'm wearing like this one, it might be my headscarf, it might be anything. It might be a necklace, it might be my attire. There's something that is always representative of how I celebrate my Africanness.
The beautiful kente, is that like a wrap on your chair or like a throw?
Yeah, just a wrap on my chair.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, I can take it and put it on my head as a headscarf right now.
Love it, love it.
And
go ahead.
And sometimes, it's not just I'm Ghanaian, but I am very Pan-African, and so I've been fortunate such that my work allows me to travel to different parts. So, behind me, I have stuff from Rwanda, I have stuff from Kenya, I have stuff from Uganda, from Senegal, all those. In fact, these earrings I got at the Maasai market in Kenya,
Wow.
So anyways.
I love that. And I noticed that stuff on your wall when we spoke last.
Yes,
during our meeting. What I love about you, and I think it's important that every woman embrace, and it's a concept I remember reading from an author called Brené Brown.
Mm-hmm, Brené Brown, yeah.
Brené Brown. And she spoke about wholehearted living.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you talk about being wholehearted and bringing your whole self. I think also what I'm also picking up from you is that you love and appreciate every part of yourself.
That's right.
Every part of what makes you. And so often as women, we feel like we have to hide a part of ourselves because it's not worthy or because we think it's shameful. And I love that you've embraced everything from your skin color to your smile to your roots, to your passion in life. Yeah.
It's interesting because for me, it has been a journey, and it continues to be a journey that continues to evolve, right? So I remember in 2009, right? At the time, I was working as the program officer for Africa at the Global Fund for Women in San Francisco.
Yes.
And I had just had my kids. So I have 3 children. I have twin daughters and then my son. And I had my kids and they were all very young. So having twins and then my son, they are just about 2 years apart. So
how old are they now?
The twins are 14 going on 15, and then my son is 12 going on 13. And so having the young kids and working, coming home, being a wife, I saw that my life was in compartments. I saw that I was living my life in silos. So when I was home, I am mom, I am wife, I am a sister taking care of staff. And then I'll go to the office and I have to wear a different hat. and bring that aspect of me. And I was looking for something that will a framework, a way of being that will allow me to align and integrate all the elements and merge all the elements of my life that I am passionate about, that I love, that my experiences have equipped me, to live out all of that. And I was fortunate to go through a program called the Global Women's Leadership Network. They have a program called the Women Leaders for the World. And I was fortunate to go through that program. And when I went through the program, this idea of a whole woman was introduced to me. And, the tagline was whole woman, whole leader for a whole world. And I was so fascinated, by it. I was like, this is what I'm looking for. What does it mean? So I decided to craft my own understanding of it and embody it. And I have become, the quintessential whole woman, right? And for me, that means I bring all of who I am. I bring my fears, I bring my tears, I bring my trials, I bring my faith, I bring my intellectual capacity, I bring my relationships, I bring everything that makes me me. So when I show up in the fullness of who I am, and I refuse to live in compartments. And that means that I don't live in a performative manner, but I live in an authentic manner. I don't live in a transactional manner, but I live in a transformative manner, right? And so it's a process where you are engaging, it's organic, you bring authenticity, you bring, all these things that we talk about in leadership. You talk about, bringing vulnerability. It's there, I'm able to tap into that. Bringing my fears, bringing who I am, bringing my humor, just being able to let my head down, appreciating myself, putting myself first. And that's nothing wrong with being self-full, so this idea of a whole woman really gives us permission and frees us to show up just as we are in the fullness of who we are created, and not in silos and in bits and pieces and in compartments. Because when we show up with bits and pieces, we do a disservice to ourselves and we are not authentic. And, there's nothing beautiful about being a photocopy of something else when you can be the original. And it takes courage to be yourself.
Or a fragmented person. And, as you're talking, I just had this image. My daughter, who has just graduated from high school, was a competitive dancer. And so when we go for, competitions, sometimes she's in a lot of different dances, and sometimes there are quick changes. And for me, the most, exhausting part is taking off a costume and then putting another one back on.
That's right.
And so I'm thinking that, when we feel like we have to be different in the different arenas of our lives, that must be exhausting. It's exhausting to have to figure out, okay, who am I in this situation, or who am I in that situation?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, being authentic, is there's so many benefits, including, let me just, my energy is who I am. I accept who I am. This is my vibe. I love it. I could talk all day with you about just,
I know, right?
Just that bit. I looked on your website, and another thing caught my eye. You said, I live by the motto, do good, but first do no harm.
Yeah.
That fascinated me. Tell us what that means to you.
So that idea of do good, but first do no harm really goes to the idea of soul care. That we can't give what we do not have. That anytime we show up and we are given, we give from who we are. And so imagine if you are given from a place of trauma, when you haven't taken the time to transform your own trauma, to confront things that put you in a place of toxicity or perhaps a place of dysfunction. When you show up and you are supporting or serving or giving up, you can only give what you have. And so what you be pouring out will be the same toxicity. One of my friends, Thabita Pamira, she did a TED talk and she talked about trauma that is not transformed becomes trauma transferred.
Wow.
Right. And so that is the essence of do good, but first do no harm. Make sure that you are not going into conversations, into relationships, into the work we do with, make sure you're going in with a wholesome perspective, right? Make sure that the mindsets you have are healthy mindsets. They are healthy mindsets that would, flow on others in a positive way. And especially, in terms of my work in the international development space, you often see people going in and they think they are coming to save you. And I'm like, no, you are not here to save me. If you can only see me as a mutual collaborator, as a mutual partner, then we have something solid to go on. But often there is this savior mentality. There is this idea, I'm here to help you out. And, it doesn't allow people to show up in their power and in their strength. It just doesn't serve anybody. And so when you go in with that idea of, I'm better than you, I know it all, then you are actually doing more harm because you are imposing things on people when those things are not necessarily what you need. Have you taken the time to get to know them? Have you taken the time to understand where they come from? Have you taken the time to understand their context? Because our context shapes and informs how we show up, right?
Wow.
And so you have to do the work on yourself. And that extends to this idea of even self-care. I often say that our well-doing is inspired by our well-being.
Wow.
So do good, but first be well, right? And
so you've just dropped a bunch of nuggets here. Do good, but first be well. And then you said something about, what is that statement about trauma? Trauma what's
trauma not transformed become trauma transferred.
Wow.
Right? And then I said something about the fact that our well-doing, right, is informed or inspired by our well-being.
Well-being.
Right.
Just amazing. Nuggets upon nuggets upon nuggets. So the thing that actually I listened to on social media that made me say, okay, I have, by hook or by crook, I have to get in touch with Maame and get on the podcast, is you gave your simple acceptance speech, right?
Yes.
For this award. You're sitting here somewhere and you gave, you received the How Women Lead Change Maker Award for 2021. Right. So first of all, congratulations, for that.
Thank you.
But you gave like a 2-minute speech on Instagram that just blew me away. And I know you've actually touched on some of those things, but I would love for you to talk about the 4 areas of what makes a whole woman leader, because I think it's something that every woman needs to hear. It's a message that we need to spread far and wide.
Yeah. Right. And so, yes, the How Women Lead now runs the Women Leaders for the World program that I went to in 2009. Okay. And as an alumni, I've been so blessed to be able to give back, to pay it forward. And in that process, I serve. I tap into my strengths and my gift to give back, because I strongly believe in that. And, when I got the award, I was quite surprised. I mean, not surprised in like, oh my God, no, but surprised and thankful. In fact, not surprised, I would say I was grateful. And appreciated the fact that I was seen, right? And so even at the end, I talked about 2 concepts. They are African concepts, one called Sawubona. And Sawubona is a Zulu greeting. When you go to South Africa and you meet people in the morning or they are greeting you, they say Sawubona. And that literally translates into, it's good to see you, right? And then the response is Yebo Sawubona, which translates into, it is good to be seen. And for me, I often think about the fact that we live in a society where everybody is running so fast. And one thing that COVID may have taught all of us, and I hear it in the spaces that I sit, is how people are saying, oh my God, COVID helped me to slow down. COVID helped me to step out of the business, right? And so in the process of that business, sometimes we don't see each other.
Right.
You know, you might just ask them, how are you? And then the next, like, oh, hi, good morning. How are you? I'm fine. Bye. So we don't take the time. It's like, how are you really? Do you really see me? Right. And so I love this idea that it was a blessing to be seen. And then the other concept I talked about is this idea of Ubuntu, which means I am because you are. And that's also from South Africa. And so that was at the heart of it. And to realize that who I am is dependent on the community I am part of, right? But in terms of the four things that I talked about, the first thing I talked about is this value of an abundance mentality. Yes. You know, as a whole woman, there are mindsets that you need to have. And often we are all socialized to compete, right? And the abundance mentality for me says, step out of the mindset of scarcity. There is room enough for everybody. And so once you shift your perspective to an abundance mentality and mindset, what you do is instead of competing, you complement. Instead of sabotaging, you support. Wow. And instead of being a critic and always criticizing other people, you celebrate others.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And so that mindset of abundance means there is room for everyone. And don't be afraid to give of what you have, because that generates even more for you. I recently saw a quote from Amanda Gorman, and she said, abundance is a forbidden fruit. Indeed. You know, and it speaks to the idea of how we are all socialized, that there isn't enough. It's hard. So let me hold on to my own. But once you shift into abundance and you realize, oh my God, there is enough room, there is enough space, there is enough resources to go for everyone. And that abundance is activated when you start to collaborate, when you start to complement, when you start to celebrate, when you start to appreciate, when you start to support, when you start to practice what I call radical generosity.
Wow. Tell us about that. I love that.
So yeah, radical generosity, where it's that is what underpins this idea of abundance. Because you are hopeful.
Yes.
You are hopeful. You are filled with hope that there is enough, you know, and you may not see it, but sometimes hope by definition is evidence of things yet not seen. But we have a strong belief that some way, somehow, I don't know how it's going to shape up, but I know I'm hopeful. I trust that as I work with others, we are going to sharpen each other. We are going to draw out the gold in each other. And out of that flows abundance that extends to everybody else. And that's what radical generosity is. So that's the idea of abundance.
I believe that, and I think, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
I got so excited because when we draw the gold out of each other, then the whole itself becomes a bigger whole, which is from where flows the abundance, right? So I just, yes, that just came to me.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So please continue.
And then the second one is this idea of stewardship. And, you know, these are my core values. These are core values. This is my credo, my personal credo. I live by them. These are my ethos, you know. They are things that I believe in. And so stewardship for me, it's very, very important, right? And it comes from the idea that to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
That whatever gifts you have, whatever opportunities you have, you are a custodian of those things, and how you steward them determines how future generations also thrive.
Yes.
It's more of a responsibility. Stewardship is like, how do you steward the power, the access, the opportunities, the platforms that you have? How do you leverage those things and use them as a door for others to enter into spaces, right? Recognizing that whatever you have, you are given them to be a custodian of it. So how do you become a custodian? And for me, this idea of stewardship is more about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about intergenerational commitments, right? And I saw my mother model that so powerfully. I remember at the time when I was, my kids were born and all of that. And my mom would say, she's saying in my language, Infanti, I mean, I was in my you.
Wow.
Literally meaning whatever I have to do for you, I have set you up. I'm now moving on to my grandkids, right? And then she'll always say, I don't want anybody who comes through my lineage to ever have to live in poverty. And so I'm laying the groundwork and setting the stage and providing the blueprint that anybody at all can pick and run with. And for me, that's stewardship.
Yes.
And one of the other quotes that I live by through this lens of stewardship is that the power to lead comes from the commitment to serve.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And so that's where that's it. And then for me, the third value and the third thing I talked about is this idea of building authentic relationships in which we bring our full selves, not part of us, but all of who we are. So that when I say that I am committed to you, like Abba committed to you, I don't do it in a half-mannered way.
Exactly.
I come in a full way. I love a quote from Lema Bowie. Lema won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011. She's Liberian. And Lema says, you can't leave footprints if you are on your tippy toes, right? You can't leave footprints
Wow. Oh
on
my
your toes,
goodness.
right? And I just love that. And that for me speaks about taking a stand, right? Being committed to something, knowing the people who speak life into you and investing in those relationships, feeding those who feed you, sharing your light and seeking light at the same time. Those are important to me. And for me, I don't want to be in a relationship that is transactional. I don't want that. It's a waste of my time. I want to be real. I want to be authentic. I want to invest and I want to bring all of who I am. And in so doing, we sort of feed on each other and sharpen each other. And that's what I mean by authentic relationship. And the last one is this idea of soul care and self-care. I think we are talking a lot about it these days.
Yes.
And this idea that do good, but first be well. Out of
Yes.
the abundance of how well we are, it flows out to reach out to others. That's it. I mean, those are very, very important to me. Yeah.
You gave me goosebump after goosebump. This was amazing. I so, subscribe to everything you've just shared. And so thank you for that. What I want to ask you before we end today's
Mm-hmm.
conversation is you talked a little bit about how you define hope. And I guess my question for you now is what do you hope for in this world that we live in? What do you, Maame Afon, hope for in this world that we live in?
Um, That's a deep one, right? There are just so many things that I hope for. I mean, I think for me, the things that I hope for, I put myself in those spaces, right? And one of those things is to amplify voices. I hope that all of us, every single person can live a life of dignity. Every single person can find their voice. Every single person can find their why. Every single person can live their why boldly. And every single person can find beloved community that will support them to live out their calling and their purpose. I believe that life, a life well lived is a life that, serves and ensures that people show up in the fullness of who they are. And for me, my hope is that I can summon my passion, the things I love, my talents and my gifts, my experiences, what my experiences have equipped me with, whether it's through education or through just the University of Life, just life experiences. I hope that I can summon all of those things in service to support people to unleash their potential and maximize their impact. In my work, what I always say is my hope is to raise leaders with a solid and healthy foundation. There are weak foundations of leadership that we are accustomed to. There are certain foundations that have been set for us when it comes to the example of what leadership is. And there are so many gaps in those things. And my goal and my hope is that we can begin to build healthy foundations, sound foundations, so that as leaders are being raised, they are rooted in values that are sound, that are healthy, that are productive, that are transformative, in values and mindsets that really allow us to have a whole world, a world that is whole, And I'm not saying there wouldn't be difficulties and challenges, but if we can aspire to have whole leaders for a whole world, we will be well on our way to something amazing. Great things will flow from all of us. So that's my hope. And as an African woman, as a Black woman, and as a woman, my hope is that women can find their voice. Women can honor themselves. I think a lot of us dishonor ourselves.
So
a lot
true.
of us don't celebrate ourselves. And in this state of my life, I'm sitting in a place where I'm asking myself, are you honoring yourself? Are you appreciating you? Are you showing compassion to yourself? Are you being kind to mommy? Are you being gentle to mommy? Are you extending grace to mommy? Because all of these things, I can only give it if I know how to embrace it first. And so my hope is that we can find ourselves and extend all those beautiful virtues and values of hope, of grace, of kindness, of joy, of patience, of humility, of an abundance mentality, of stewardship, of self-care and soul care, of authentic relationships, first and foremost to ourselves. And out of the abundance of all of that, we will flow out into the world, touching lives and shifting perspectives and bringing transformation in a very powerful and healthy manner.
Girl, speak it. What? You have me jumping for joy here. What a hope. What a beautiful hope.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
So I am, in terms of my music, and this idea of even being home, my music, people often ask me, what kind of music do you do? And I tell people, I create wholesome music to inspire, uplift, and encourage. So if you go on YouTube, you can find my music. Just type in youtube.com/Maame Afon, which you see on the screen, MAAMEAFON. You see that. On my website, just www.mameafon.com. You find that. That's where you find a lot of my music. And then for my work, you will find me at www.themiltedge, one word, themiltedge.com. I am on most platforms for music. So Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, anywhere that there is a platform for music, just type in my name and you'll find me. And of course, you can reach me by email, just afonsai@gmail.com. You can reach me via that. And on social media, if you just do @Maame Afon, you should find me. And just by my name, Maame Afon Yelbert-Sai, you find me on LinkedIn. And yeah,
Everywhere.
technology makes it easy to find people.
Indeed. We didn't plan this, and if you can't, that's I understand because I didn't
Right.
ask. Can you sing for us for like 20 seconds before we wrap up?
Sure. I will sing my first album. It's called Rise. And that was the song that song speaks to me. So it talks about rising out of the ashes, and it's actually a song of hope. It's a song of hope. So it's very appropriate for this platform. So it says rise, and it goes like this. I will rise. I will rise. Like an eagle with wings, I will rise. I will rise. I will rise. Like an eagle with wings, I will rise. I will soar. I will soar. Like an eagle through the wind, I will soar. I will soar. I will soar. Like an eagle through the wind, I will soar. The strength that I have within me is greater than all of my greatest fears. No matter the mountains I see, my miracle is only a step away. Give me my wings to fly higher. Oh, higher. Higher I will rise. Give me my wings to fly. Break away, lay my burdens down. Pressing on, I won't give up. Set me free. Give me my wings to fly higher.
Oh my goodness.
Higher, I will rise.
Wow.
Rise like an eagle.
Rise like an eagle from your album Rise, correct?
Yes, that's my first album, the very, very first one. And this is actually one of written by my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we partner to do music together.
To do
So
music. Amazing.
yeah.
I have to clap. I have to clap.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing, amazing time. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yes, yes. And we are namesakes,
We
the
are.
Abba people, we have that vibe, you know what I
We
mean?
have
And you
a.
have such a beautiful smile. Anytime you smile, I'm like,
Oh,
beautiful,
thank you,
beautiful,
thank you, thank you.
beautiful.
God
Yeah,
bless you. I know you had
yeah.
a very busy day today. So God bless you for making the time to spend with us here.
Mm-hmm. And
Thank
thank you so much for having me. And I'm glad we're able to make it work. And thank you for your grace to, wait for me. I was a little late, but thank you for extending grace.
It
Thank
was
you.
completely, completely worth the wait.
Yes, yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Hopemongers podcast with Abaketo Anda. We'd like to continue to bring you amazing episodes, so please subscribe to the show. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, please give us a good rating. You can also follow us on social media at Abaketo Anda. My best-selling book, Reflections of a Hopemonger, which inspired this podcast, is available now on Amazon. Thanks for listening. See you next time, and be a hopemonger.